I need to add my face to this stream here. There we go. All right, and I think we're all set up here. Today we're going to do a follow-up from last week. And last week we did caricatures of guys. And admittedly, men are easier for me to draw for a number of reasons. One is I'm a guy, so I relate more to that. And so today we're going to kind of push the boundaries a little bit for my comfort zone, and we're going to draw some ladies. And it's interesting to study the differences between the two genders. The male face is different from the female face, and again, we have to kind of speak in generalities because not all things apply to all faces. So, but it's a fun study. So join me as I will endeavor to try to capture some likenesses of female faces today with caricature. And again, caricature is not just drawing a face with giving him a big nose. So let's say I'm going to kind of click through some options here and see which face I want to start out with. Try to pick a few faces that maybe I'll start with this one right here. Again, the female face tends to be less angular than the male face. And this lady has what shape face? What general shape do you think her face is? I see a circle, so her face is more round. And so we'll start with well. Again, I'm not drawing to be mean. Some caricature artists, I don't think they're necessarily trying to be mean either, but they tend to exaggerate more. And it's within that generalization of breaking things down into exaggerated shapes and distortions that sometimes it can look mean, but not all of them are necessarily trying to be mean. Now I've kind of drawn her face in more of a circular fashion than it really is there. But again, we're trying to build a likeness based on the general shapes of what we see here. I should have lightened that photo a little bit because it's a little dark, but anyway, her eye line will go right about here. Let's see. Nose right about there. And then and she has some eyebrows that give her a particular look. I was kind of reading up on some of the differences today of men and women's faces. And eyebrows are one of those things that are a bit different. Women's eyebrows tend to be higher on the face than men's are. There's an orbital socket here. If I were to draw a circle, I'll erase this later. But wait a minute, the woman's would be like that. Now, for a lady, the eyebrow tends to be above the orbital socket. And for the men, the eyebrow tends to be closer, or if not even a little bit below. So I thought that was very, very interesting. The eyebrow ridge on a woman is not as pronounced generally as a man is. And so this forehead line right here on a man would sometimes be more like this, where a lady has a softer line there. And if you had a side view of a woman, their foreheads are more vertical, where the slope on a male forehead tends to go back. I think because of that brow ridge, that has something to do with the slope of the forehead. So a very, very interesting study between the genders. Again, God made us male and female, and we find that in the book of Genesis. And so That's our definition. I know the world today has confused that issue, but we prefer to approach this from a biblical point of view, and I think that our Creator has something to say about that. So again, just looking at the distances, trying to get a feel for what makes this lady look like she does. Another interesting fact that I read about the faces is that the distance between the bottom of the nose and the upper lip on men tends to be longer than it is on the women. So these are all interesting observations and things that you can use when you're drawing a man or a woman, and again, looking at their face to see what applies to them. And then use those things to keep in mind to give it more of a male or female quality. And sneezing does not help when you're drawing. So I'm going to try to fight that one off. Oops. She doesn't have too big of an upper lip. And then the bottom of the face, the chin on or the jawline of a woman tends not to be as square and as large as a man. So men have generally bigger jaws than ladies. The man's chin tends to be more square, and the woman's chin tends to be more pointed. So again, those are helpful notes to think about when you're drawing either a man or a woman. And she's got braces on. When I did caricatures, when I do caricatures live, and I haven't done them for a while, sometimes if someone's wearing braces, I'll ask them if they want the braces to be on in their caricatures or not. So sometimes they'll say yes or no. And I'll say, well, I'm not a dentist, but I have the power of removing your braces if you'd like. So one of the fun things about drawing live caricatures is that you get to interact with your subjects, and the challenge is to make them smile and to keep a smile on their face so you can draw their face. And so you tend to come up with a bit of a comedy routine, I think. So there we go. We're getting in the neighborhood anyway. So I'm not gonna finish off this caricature, but I'm just trying to have you watch me draw a face and then talk about some of what I'm doing and just some of the things to look for. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll be glad to try to tackle any questions. I've got a ton of stories of drawing faces and such. Now the eyes on any face are important, but here's the thing with the female face and why I find it particularly tricky. Guys, I mean, we care that we don't look dumb or stupid or insulted, that sort of thing. In fact, we want to look sort of cool too, but that's different from looking pretty. It's different from the look that ladies go into the mirror in the morning and they kind of create their own artwork every day. They're drawing their face, and so it's funny when I draw a live caricature of people, and a lady will sit down in front of me. The tendency there, again, there's the difference between the genders. the tendency there is that the lady will start telling me how she wants me to draw her. And that's from experience. I've had that happen time and time again, where they'll have like a little list and they'll say, okay, don't draw this, make me look this way. Sometimes their hair isn't quite the way they want it, and so they'll say my hair should be this way. And so they're kind of revisiting the makeup mirror in the morning, and they want to influence the artist to draw her a certain way. So I get the instruction up front. With a guy, he'll sit down in front of me and I'll start drawing him. And then after I'm done, I'll show it to him and he'll go, do I look like that? Type of thing. So again, he's got an expectation too, but it tends to come afterwards. And especially with the hair, I'll draw a guy and if he doesn't have as much hair maybe as he'd like, if I draw it in a way that makes it look like less, he'll question me on that. Hey, I've got more hair than that. So that's kind of the way it goes with guys. Okay, so that one I think turned out pretty well as far as the likeness goes. I took a little more time on her than I did the drawings I think last week, but again, just getting that general shape, seeing where the features kind of land in relation to each other, and just practice. Drawing from photos first is a big help, and then you can eventually graduate to drawing live faces, which is immensely terrifying. So just have your friends and relatives sit down and just loosely sketch them with no expectation of whatever turning out, and just keep practicing. And then after a while, maybe you're brave enough to give it a go with, let's see, okay, she's got an interesting face too. So maybe I'll try to make more of a caricature of her, more like the other one was kind of a fun, not really portrait, but it didn't go too far. Maybe I'll try to be more a little cartoony on this gal. So her face isn't as round. It's longer, but at first glance, what do you see? I mean, what features do you see on her? Now her chin is very square at the bottom there. Her eyes are very, very big, which again, I think that's a trait that is very female, that the eyes tend to be larger than what you would draw on a male. So I'm saying I'm gonna draw more cartoony, and my tendency is to kind of fall into this medium area that sometimes it takes a little while to kind of loosen up. So let's see how far I get. But one thing that I see on her too is her lips are very large, and they're very close to her chin. So if there's one thing I would probably exaggerate on her, would be the her lips, and then her eyes are very large as well. Now, sometimes the mistake that I see on caricatures is in regard to the eyes is that, and again, that's kind of the intimidating part on the ladies' caricatures for me is, like I said, they've got this artwork in mind, and they want you to reproduce this artwork that they work on every day. They draw this drawing, and that pretty factor is something you kind of have to tune into. And but caricature artists, again, looking for the exaggeration, sometimes will I've seen caricature artists do kind of like a normal face, and then they just like spread the eyes out. Or no, actually the thing I've seen more is they draw the eyes too close together. and it just doesn't look right. It just looks like they drew the face and then they just put the eyes together, and that's the caricature. She's got a longer face, so I'm trying to exaggerate that a little bit, although I made it too square. She's got not really square jaws, but it's rounded there a little bit. So again, feminine, female, round, soft. That's the tendency. Not that some women can't have, square or less round features, but that's the tendency. I was watching a video once of some people criticizing some of my artwork, and one of the gals that was participating in the criticism, I think she had this idea that guys just draw women as men, and then we just add eyelashes and other female features, but it really is kind of like a guy, which I thought was a very interesting commentary for a number of reasons today, particularly that the culture seems to be saying, hey, there's no difference between men and women, and one can be the other, and it's full of commentary I could have made on that. But I think it's true in a sense that sometimes guys can kind of just draw the same body that they draw, make it's kind of masculine looking, and then they just add female features to it, and it looks wrong because they haven't really drawn a feminine body. But I see the same mistake too in lady artists. A lot of the times they're accustomed with female eyes to look at things from a female point of view, and so sometimes their drawings of men can be very soft and rounded and very feminine looking, and that's just the tendency that we have to get over with. Now I'm taking way too much time here on this lady, but her eyes again are very big and pretty. And boy, they're really off. And that's the joy of drawing live in front of people. You guys can see all my mistakes. Get things lined up here. That's one of the challenges too with drawing. Hey, Katie, good to see you again. Let me read your comment here in a second. Your comments. Thank you for commenting. When I draw caricatures live, boy, you're just under the gun. You got to draw these fast, and boy, if you mess up in marker, that is a stress. There, I think that's closer. But knowing the anatomy of the eyes, all the facial features, is very, very important. So being able to get those things down. Oh, this isn't turning out very well. I've had an interesting day so far today, dealing with a particular project, and so I've been looking at numbers and dates and trying to sort some things out that way. So my artist brain is my brain tends to go a little fuzzy with a lot of numbers. I'm not a math guy at all. Yeah, that's better. Well, closer anyway. Nice big pupils. Or the big. If this was going to be in color, and then okay, so her eyebrows are not thin, but they're not super thick either. That's another feature. Women's eyebrows, not only are they higher on the face, but they tend to be thinner than men. And then she's got kind of that little, I don't want to emphasize the lines on a woman's face too much, which that's part of the trick when you're drawing, oops, pick my eraser here. When you're drawing ladies that are older, you kind of have to pick and choose which lines to draw and not draw too many. You know, the under the eyes, and she has a little bit right there and right there. But you know, when you get older, the areas of your face kind of come down a little bit with gravity, and so well. Oh, and then there's the eyelashes too, which the other lady really didn't. I drew those by drawing a thicker line on the top of the eye, but she's got eyelashes that show. So okay, Katie. The first one turned out so cute. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was pretty happy with that myself. Just out of the chute. I really haven't warmed up today, which again is another tip that I keep giving, and I gave it last week. If you're going to have your caricature drawn by an artist, don't be the first ones in the morning to be part of that. Let the artist warm up, and then get your face drawn a little later on in the day when they've warmed up. So, and the upper lip tends to be darker because of the way the light falls on that, but then you kind of draw lips like that, get a little reflection, and well, there it is. That one is what it is. So I hope you learned something off of that. Let's see. How often do people flat out reject their caricatures? Well, you know, I've never had anyone outright, you know, just say I hate it and walk away. I've had people look at the caricature that I've drawn, and you can tell by the look on their face that they're not, you know, they imagined something else. And that's part of the trick, is that if you had like 10 different caricature artists and you sat down and had them all draw you, they would all draw them differently, but they would look like you. So it you know, I want to draw. I'm gonna move on from this lady. I wanted to talk about hair on this one, but there was an Asian gal that I had found here. Let me see if I can find her. Oh, come on, where's the Asian lady? There we go. To talk about the differences in ethnic groups here. But as far as the rejection goes, they've just kind of expressed with their face and body language and such that well, I guess it wasn't that bad that they would reject it. But I've had a few, and that happens to everybody, no matter how good you are, how accurate. You can never satisfy everybody. Now her face is a little longer, so she's got a face that's shaped kind of like that. And again, it's those general things that if you capture a number of those things correctly, that's what gives her look, and that's what gives your caricature a measure of success, that you've captured her look, because you've, you know, generally, if I drew something way off, you would go, well, something's wrong. So it's trying to reflect what you see there. Now, I have a story to tell you, and I had kind of taken a break from caricatures for about 10 years, and I hadn't drawn any live ones for quite a long time. And this was back when I was working at the Creation Museum, or the Answers in Genesis Ministry. And I thought, all right, I'm gonna start drawing caricatures live again. And it was kind of I gotta work myself up into this, because I'm not one for people watching me draw, which might sound kind of funny, because here I am on YouTube drawing live, which again, it's just something you have to work up to. But so I thought, okay, I'm going to get back into drawing live caricatures. I think this could be a good thing. So I'm psyching myself up, and I'm with fear and trembling at the same time because I hadn't done it for so long. And this ethnic groups that are different from mine. Each one of us has our own kind of group that we belong to, and then there's other ones that are different from us, which the differences are beautiful. God has created genetic variety within the human family to look different, and so that's a fascinating thing to study and look into if you look at the Tower of Babel and all the stuff that happened there. But people are constantly trying to come up with different stories apart from the Bible as far as where the races, so-called races, came from. But as far as like and my phone is going off here in the background, I apologize for that. But drawing people that are different can be kind of a minefield in the sense that there's so many stereotypes, and so some of the caricatures and things are used in hurtful ways, and and I really don't want to have anyone walk away hurt or anything like that. And so I think some of those things just kind of made me extra fearful of drawing people that I could be seen as trying to do one thing when I'm really not. You know what I'm saying? So this lady sat down. It was at a Christmas Town practice run at the Creation Museum before we opened up to the public that particular year, and so I'm having all these fear and trembling feelings and stuff, and so I'm setting up my stuff, and this lady who is a darker skinned lady, what someone might term African American. And so she like saw me doing that, and she came over, just right over, and she's like, "Would you draw me?" And I said, hey, "Just one moment, please. I need to get my stuff set up." And so I said, "I'll be a few minutes." And so I said, "But you're first in line." And so she's all excited and stuff. And so I'm like, "Oh no, I don't want to get this wrong." But at the same time, I was like, "Okay, I just got to dive in, and I have to." I have to do this, and I all I can do is just draw what I see. And so that was my thing. I was like, I got to draw what I see. So actually, I got to draw her eyebrow a little bit higher. So the other thing that made me fearful and think, oh no, is that her face, as I'm saying, got to draw what you see. Her face, her nose was kind of like, and I'm not being exaggerating here, it's like she had like a ping pong ball on the end of her nose. I hope she's not listening to this. But that's just the way her nose looked. And so I thought, all right, I'm gonna be brave, and I'm gonna dive right into this caricature. And so she sat down, and again, this is the first face. I'm not warmed up, and I'm like fearful, and not a good combination. So I went in and I started drawing, and right away I draw her nose, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just going to caricature. We're going to do this. And so I get done with the caricature, and I hand it to her, and I drew the nose, like I exaggerated it a bit, and I'm trying to be brave and do this. And her first words were, "My nose!" It's like, oh, it killed me. I still feel bad. But I wasn't charging for them that night either. So that was part of my consolation was, okay, well, at least there was no, this was, for me to warm up overall. And this poor lady just happened to be the first one. And Ma'am, I'm so sorry that I gave you such maybe I even ruined her night that night. I don't know. But oh, thank you. Yeah, I can totally understand your fears. In this world, it's not getting any easier. Again, it's just a thing you got to practice, and hopefully. Now, this Asian lady, as you can tell, I've broken her face down into the particular shapes, and she's got a fuller lips, but her mouth is not wide. And trying to catch the general shape of her nose, I probably could have made it a little bit, probably fix it a little bit, make it cuter than what I have there. But then she's got a very thin nose ridge, or the bridge of her nose is kind of long right there. And then Asian eyes are very interesting to look at. And that used to really send me into a state of, oh no, I hope I get this right. And again, you just have to kind of fall back on trying to draw what I see and try to practice drawing different eyes. And so you can hopefully get in the ballpark when you're drawing the different features of different people groups. You know, you've got eye shapes and lips and noses and hair. Oh, hair. I've got stories of hair. Now we're about out of time here, so I if I were to tell you the story about Washington, D.C. and drawing caricatures at the NEA convention there, I was there with a ministry, and we were doing an outreach, and it was a fantastic time. But wow, all the neat stories, and again, my comfort zone was stretched. But the Lord was faithful and good, as He always is, and there was fruitful ministry there, even with caricatures and fun stuff like that. So, all right, so we've drawn a few different faces there, and I hope that just at least seeing how I approach things and kind of break things down, and I'm not trying to draw a portrait, but I'm trying to capture the essence of these faces and interpret them, in a fast manner and a fun manner. I'm not trying to dishonor or criticize or insult anybody. And I could talk more about all that sort of stuff too, with different types of people and faces that come to you when you draw live. But anyway, this has been a fun exercise. And again, God is our creator. He's the one that has given any one of us creativity. I think that really is a reflection of Him. And so we can have fun with faces and drawing. And so this has been a fun little series. Maybe if I get some replies that people want me to do this next week, I'll kind of continue a theme and pick a different aspect of caricatures, or we can move on to something else. So let me know, but join me next week at 2:30 on Friday for the Ministry Reasons for Hope. This is Dan Lietha signing off, and thank you so much. Have a great weekend.